You stay along with all of you through the playoff.
Yeah, Jeremy's going to finish the season with us. He's going to go do some things to get his program started at Tennessee, and when we're ready to practice, he'll be back with us and be a part of the playoff. I really appreciate the fact that, Kirby did a great job of doing that a couple years ago when he had an opportunity, and I think it shows a lot of respect for the players on our team who have worked hard to help us all have success this season.
All right, we'll go back into the middle on the far left.
Dabo, you voted Ohio State number 4 in your final poll. Did you feel they were worthy over Alabama?
You want the honest answer? 3 o'clock in the morning on a bus ride home from Charlotte, a moment of insanity, complete insanity. No, it was just coming home, literally it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, oh man, I got to do this poll and looking at it, and they won 11 games. Alabama won 11 games. They won the Big Ten championship, and it's a different. Obviously, the committee has a lot of things to look at and a lot of data, and they're going to pick the 4 best teams however they see it. And at that moment, that's the way I voted. But they're all great teams, man.
Okay, we'll go back in the middle.
He was just respecting his alma mater, that's all.
I'm trying to get rid of it, but I can't get rid of it. I can't shake him.
We'll go back in the middle towards the back.
Kirby, a couple of your assistants have been rumored for other positions. After the season ends, do you obviously have to anticipate this, and do you address this with them about how maybe you're going to handle it, or is it just a take it as it goes?
Yeah, I think it's an honor anytime your assistants get an opportunity to advance themselves. And I think that, I learned that from none other than Nick, that when you get an opportunity for somebody to go on and increase their role, and they get a promotion, I think that's a great honor. I think it's an honor to your staff and to the success you've had at your program. And I hope that all our guys get that opportunity. I do think that the timing with the early signing period, it's a very unique set of circumstances. You guys have asked 1,000 times about the early signing period. How's it going to affect this and that? I think it's really unique that now we're coming across things that we weren't quite aware of. Like, we've got official visits next weekend, but we've got to practice also for bowl games where we never had to do that. We've got coaches that are jockeying to go to different places and different staffs because of the early signing period. They're wanting to move earlier and get in position where a lot of times you didn't worry about coaching movement until after the bowl games. So it's brought up a unique circumstance, especially for a team that's in the college football playoff.
All right, we'll go back to the middle on the right aisle.
Nick, what did you learn from the last 2 years with Kirby and Lane going through the same kind of situation as Jeremy? And does the early signing period change anything at all for you guys this year?
Well, I think that each individual, handles a circumstance like this relative to how they can stay focused on 2 things. I remember when I went to Michigan State as an assistant coach way back in 1994, I think. I was at the Cleveland Browns. We were in the playoff hunt. Bill made it as accommodating as he could for me to have someone who helped as a secretary to do all the things and handle all the things so I could focus on doing what we needed to do for our players. But most of the really good coaches that have great competitive character are always going to do what's best for the players. And, I mentioned earlier, Kirby certainly did a good job of that, and I'm sure Jeremy will do a good job of that this year.
All right, next question will go in the middle on the far left aisle.
Kirby, thinking back to that in 2015 when you had to juggle 2 jobs during the playoff run, what was the most difficult part of that, and how did you handle that whole situation?
Well, I thought that, Coach did a great job of helping with that. He offered up as many services as he could. But the time, I was always concerned, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing for Georgia? Am I doing the right thing for Alabama? And it was very concerning to me because I wanted to do what was best for both. And what was best for both was to finish up what you were doing but move on to the new things you had to do in recruiting. With the early signing period, it creates a even new dynamic because you're trying to actually sign a signing class while you're practicing. So the things that Jeremy's going to have to go through is probably going to be even more challenging in regards to that. But I'm glad now looking back that I did what I did because it was the right thing to do, and certainly helped that we won the game. But it was very challenging 30-day period for sure.
And we'll go to the front row in the middle.
All right, Rachel Deloach, Troy University, and my question is for all coaches. From your years of coaching, which phase of the game, offense, defense, or special teams, has the advantage with 1 month to prepare?
Coach Smart, we'll start with you and then work our way down.
Thanks. I don't know that any phase of the game has an advantage over the other with 1 month to prepare. I certainly think that how you manage those three phases is very critical to the outcomes of the game. And we talked to our team even as recent as yesterday about perspective and what is each team's perspective on making the playoffs. Do you have one team hungrier than the other that's upset they didn't win a championship? Are they going to work harder than you? Are you are you going to be complacent because you're the first team in however many years to win an SEC championship? So the perspective with which you go into it with, I think, is really critical. And the playoffs that I've been a part of, it's the team that manages those 25 days to get better, to improve your kicking game, your offense, your defense. But I don't think one has an advantage over the other.
Yeah, I would agree with Kirby. I don't think it matters really what side of the ball you're talking about. This is probably the time. There's no other time during the year where you've got a month break in between games. And that we're the only sport in the world that I can think of that does that, especially before championship type games like this. So I think how you handle those games, how your staff handles them, how your players handle them, makes the biggest difference.
I don't really think that it's a lot about the offense, defense, or special teams, but I do think that skilled players, wide receivers, fast guys, they sort of bounce back from the break a lot more quickly than the bigger guys. So I also think that because you don't play for a long time, one of the most difficult skills is the fundamental of just blocking and tackling, and that's why it's more challenging to the bigger guys. It just seems like it's a little bit harder to get everybody back to the level and the standard that you like. But the skill guys, they'll go out there for 2 days and catch passes, and they're ready to go. Quarterback, receivers, they're fast guys, and they're always fast guys. So I think those guys have a little bit of an advantage in games with a big break like this.
Yeah, I don't, from a offense, defense, kicking game, I don't really think anybody has an advantage because we all got the same amount of time. I think the advantage comes for how you use that time. I think because everybody uses that time differently. For us, we work a lot on ourselves. So it's a lot of Clemson work. Obviously, it's a lot of prep work for the team that we're getting ready to play, but it's also a lot of work on our future team. And so, we've got a formula that we believe in, and I think everybody is unique and different in how they use that time. And I think that is maybe an advantage or not an advantage, depending on what your philosophy is there. But as far as schematically, I think everybody's got the same amount of time to study and prepare and all that, so I don't really see a big advantage there.
Okay, we'll go to the middle on the aisle.
Kirby, you've obviously been here as an assistant coach before. Now that you're on stage, so as college football player behind you, you're with 3 other head coaches here. Does it feel much different as a head coach, just in terms of the magnitude of what you're going into? And also in the times you've been on campus or just around Athens or Atlanta, have you sort of felt the hunger and the, in terms of what Georgia football hasn't been until now, basically?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it feels any different. I think that the pressure that I put on myself as a defensive coordinator and trying to win championships, win with Alabama, is very similar to the same. I want to be as prepared as we can. I want to prepare our staff and our organization the right way. So that doesn't change when you go to the seat. Certainly the responsibilities change and the focus changes. It's not on how we're going to play defensively or what are we going to call. It's a lot more on practice organization and recruiting and other things. But to be honest with you, around campus in Athens, I hadn't been there much. I've been out in the plane, in the schools, using this time as recruiting, and it's kind of what we've all been doing. And it's an important time because of the early signing period.
All right, we're going to go to the very far right.
Coach Smart, Coach Livingston, a question here. Jonathan Simmons from Real Talk Sports here in the Atlanta area. Both of you guys are young guys, new head coaches, but how does the fact that both of you have had experience on teams that have been to this college football playoffs?
I think it helps. I definitely think it helps. Learned a lot, I think, that first year going through it, going against Coach Swinney and those guys at the Orange Bowl a few years ago. Again, in how you prepare the team for a game with this kind of magnitude. And then also it certainly helps me, having been there with a guy in Bob Stoops that was in, a lot of games like this for many, many years, and certainly a lot of things that I picked up from him and will continue to lean on him for. And so yeah, I've got a kind of a great background there that I'll certainly draw on as we charge forward here.
Yeah, it's a big benefit having been through it because you know the scheduling aspects, you know the travel aspects, you know the dynamic talking to the team of, it's not your typical bowl game. We're not going to ride rides and do that kind of thing. That's not the purpose of this trip. And I don't think you get that perspective if you haven't been through it.
All right, our next question, we're going to go to the far right on the aisle.
For all four coaches, you mentioned this long break. I guess a way to eliminate that would be to expand the playoff to 8 teams. I'd like each coach's opinion on, and it seems like that might be a way to eliminate some of the controversies we have to get every conference champion in and perhaps some wild card teams.
Coach Sweeney, we'll start with you and work our way back.
Oh man, I like the system that we have. To be honest with you, I think that we've been in a playoff mode every week, literally for about 5 weeks now. Every week has been a playoff mentality for us. You lose, you're probably out. So it's been all you got every single week. Every game's the biggest game of the year.